Good evening, everyone. It's 6 p.m. on January 31st, 2024. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Schertz Planning and Zoning Commission. Welcome, everyone. Next item on the agenda after call to order is seating an alternate. We'll seat two alternates tonight, Mr. McMaster and Ms. Craig. Welcome. Item number 3, hearing of residents. Did anyone sign up on the sheet? Okay, thank you. Item number 4, consent agenda. The only item today is item 4A, minutes of the January 10th, 2024 regular meeting. Is there any reason to pull this item off of the consent agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I hear a motion by Mr. McMaster and a second by Ms. Goldick to approve the consent agenda. Any further questions or comments? None, please cast your vote. Publish the vote, please. Where do we go? We have 7 ayes and no noes. Motion carries. Item number 5 is a public hearing. 5A is PLSBU 2024-0014. Conduct a public hearing and make a recommendation on a specific use permit to allow automobile repair service major on approximately 1.5 acres of land located 250 feet east of the intersection of FM 3009 and Borkfield Road, also known as Guadalupe County Property Identification Number 129949, also known as 1205 Borkfield Road, City of Schertz, Guadalupe County, Texas. And Ms. Delgado, welcome.
Good evening, Commissioners. This is for PLSPU 2024-0014, Emily Delgado, Planning Manager. So here is the subject property outlined in green. You can see 3009, Borgfeld Road, just some other points of reference. This is the 7-Eleven. The current property is being utilized as classic collision. So that is the current property there. On January 19th, 2024, 22 public hearing notices were sent and a sign was posted on the property. At this time, staff has received no responses. Also on January 19th, a San Antonio Express News publication was posted for the February 6th City Council meeting. So I know there was a statement in the staff report that said that it was going to be pushed to the February 20th City Council meeting. That has since changed. This item will be heard for first reading by City Council and an additional public hearing at the February 6th City Council meeting. So the subject property is currently zoned general business, which is what's shown on this exhibit here, and is developed as an automobile repair and service major business, specifically that classic collision. To the east is Brighter Futures Daycare, also zoned GB. To the west is a convenience store with gas pumps, a retail strip center, both of which are zoned GB. And then to the north is the assisted care living facility. And then to the south is Borgfeld Road. So the applicant is requesting an SUP to allow automobile repair and service major on the approximately 1.5 acres. Per the permitted use table of the UDC, in the general business district, it does require a specific use permit to operate an automobile repair and service major. So if the SUP is approved, it would make the existing land use conform to the UDC and no longer be a non-conforming use subject to UDC Article 7. As a note, the operation of that automobile and repair and service major on that property has been in business in some fashion, not always classic collision, of course, but since 2001. And currently it is considered non-conforming due to the general business zoning, but not having an existing SUP. So when we are evaluating SUPs, we utilize the criteria out of the UDC. So the first question that we ask out of UDC is the proposed use at the specified location is consistent with the policies embodied in the adopted comprehensive land plan. So as you can see on the exhibit here, the subject property on the 2002 comprehensive land use plan was identified as multifamily residential, which was intended to include a mix of residential and low-intensity commercial uses. This property was not evaluated as part of the 2013 sector plan. Although the proposed SUP is not necessarily consistent with the currently adopted comp plan, it is being reevaluated as the current comprehensive land use plan amendment is being worked on, and is tentatively proposed as local corridor, which is designed for locally oriented commercial compatible with the surrounding neighborhoods. So the second question is, the proposed use is consistent with the general purpose and intent of the applicable zoning district regulations. So as I've mentioned, the current property is zoned general business, which is intended to provide suitable areas for the development of non-residential uses, which offer a wide variety of retail and service establishments. As I've stated, the subject property has been used for this automobile repair and service major since 2001, which does require that SUP. As a note, automobile repair and service minor is permitted by right in the general business district. However, that land use classification is very limited in the scope of services. When you think of automobile and repair and service minor, think more of your oil change. It's not really the, more intense auto mechanic. It's really just an oil change. So number 3 is the proposed use is compatible with and preserves the character and integrity of adjacent developments and neighborhoods and includes improvements either on-site or within the public right-of-way to mitigate development-related adverse impacts, such as safety, traffic, noise, odor, visual nuisance, drainage, or other similar adverse effects to adjacent development and neighborhoods. So the subject property was originally developed in 2001 for auto collision works. At that time, the 1996 UDC was in effect, and it did not require an SUP for the auto paint and body shop land use, and it was allowed by right in general business. In 2006, the UDC it was amended, and as part of that amendment, it included revisions to the permitted use table and created the 2 new land use classifications, the automobile repair major and automobile repair minor. With that UDC amendment in 2006, the major land use designation then required an SUP in general business, which ultimately made auto collision works, which was an existing business, a non-conforming use because it was zoned general business but didn't have an SUP. So this one's kind of a long one, so I split it into 2 slides here. So we're still answering number 3 here. 1205 Borgfeld Road has continued to be used for that business, the automobile repair major or automobile repair and service major, basically the same land use classification. The name just changed slightly with UDC amendments over the years, including that current operation of classic collision. The applicant has submitted the SUP request in order to ensure that the property can continue to be used for that automobile repair and service major without the restrictions from the Article 7 non-conforming use section. Since the subject property has been used the same way since 2001, there is no proposed expansion at this time. Staff does not feel that there is an adverse impact anticipated with just approving an SUP for the automobile repair and service major. So the next question, number 4, the proposed use does not generate pedestrian and vehicular traffic which will be hazardous or conflict with the existing and anticipated traffic in the neighborhood. Again, since the property has been utilized in the same fashion, same layout since 2001, staff does not feel that additional traffic would be generated or anticipated at this time. The proposed use incorporates roadway adjustments, traffic control devices or mechanisms, and access restrictions to control traffic flow or divert traffic as may be needed to reduce or eliminate development-generated traffic on neighborhood streets. Subject property currently has 2 existing access driveways onto Borgfeld Road. They've had those 2 driveway connections since 2001. There's no proposed changes to those access at this time, nor any proposed roadway adjustments to Borgfeld Road. The staff does not feel that that's a concern at this point. So number 6, the proposed use incorporates features to minimize adverse effects, including visual impacts of the proposed use on adjacent properties. The SUP request is in order to bring the existing land use into compliance with the UDC. Again, at this time, there's no currently expansion proposed. It's truly just to ensure that the automobile repair and service major land use can continue. Number 7, the proposed use meets the standards for the zoning district, or to the extent variations from such standards have been requested, that such variations are necessary to render the use compatible with adjoining development in the neighborhood. At this time, there has been no variations requested. If any modifications to the site are requested, the site will be required to meet all dimensional and design requirements of the UDC. Number 8, the proposed use promotes the health, safety, or general welfare of the city and the safe, orderly, efficient, and healthful development of the city. So the subject property, again, it's located between a convenience store with gas pumps and a daycare that has been in operation since 2008. So the daycare facility was opened after the property was already being used as an automobile repair and service major. And again, this land use has been utilized on this property for over 20 years. So we don't anticipate the land use of the property to be a concern in terms of it's just a continuation. The SUP would just allow for that continuation without the restrictions. And ultimately, again, right, it's all about bringing that property into that, eliminating the non-conforming status of the land use itself. So number 9, no application made under these provisions will receive final approval until all back taxes owed to the city have been paid in full. As you've seen on previous presentations, this does not impact the recommendation by P&Z. It'll be evaluated before the final reading at City Council. That's where that provision really comes into play. And then number 10, other criteria which at the discretion of the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council are deemed relevant and important in the consideration of the SUP. So we've ensured that the UDC requirements for the application have been met, and basically the purpose of tonight's meeting is to see if there are any other recommendations or considerations by P&Z before City Council. So staff is recommending approval of the SUP to allow automobile repair and service major with the following condition. Prior to a new C of O being issued, the site will need to be brought into full compliance with the UDC site design requirements, including but not limited to a paved concrete or asphalt surface for all parking areas. And again, staff's recommendation is based off of the land use being in operation for 20 plus years, but the condition is to ensure that the land use, if the SUP is approved, the land use can continue, but the site will be brought into compliance if a C of O is issued.
Thank you. The floor is now open for, this is a public hearing. The floor is open for a public hearing. Does anyone wish to make a public statement and relating to this case? Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, my name is Mark Roberts. I'm the landowner. So I built that building originally in 2001. And so the reason this came up is two things. Is one, I had a potential buyer for the property, and when they were doing their due diligence, they were told by the city that it was a non-compliant, which threw up a red flag. And then the second is the current tenant is considering making some changes to the property, really just trying to add some more parking, which has always been an issue. So that was really what brought it up, and felt like, hey, the easiest thing to do would be for me to apply for the special use permit, get it into compliance, and then we're done with it. I mean, we haven't changed anything we've done there since 2001, so it's really more of an administrative issue, and also to protect the investment that I have in that facility. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Do you have any
Roberts.
questions?
No.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. It's good to see you again. Okay. I forgot to open the public hearing. It was at 6:12, I believe. And we'll close the public hearing at 6:15. All right, Commission. Anyone have any questions or comments for staff?
Yeah, I have a question for staff. Why does all the parking have to be concrete or blacktop now?
So that has actually been a UDC requirement for several years. It's not a new requirement. It is written into the code that all drivable parking areas have to be concrete or asphalt.
Okay.
Just to comment, I think it helps prevent like oil leakage and antifreeze and all that getting to the soil and all that. That's my understanding. That's why it has to be concrete.
So it also helps with, if you think about if we allowed, an entire parking lot to be gravel or base, people drive onto that surface and then drive onto the city streets, and ultimately they'll be, bringing that dust, debris, the gravel, et cetera, onto the city street.
And if you drive by there now, you'll see, after the rains, why it's important to have it paved. It's a little bit of a mess back there. Anyone else?
Yeah, thanks. Can you just briefly talk about how this impacts the certificate of occupancy, or if it does at all? I know, I think you read that they're going to have to apply for a new one.
So the existing classic collision does have a certificate of occupancy issued to them.
Okay.
So if they were making any change, say a new owner, a new tenant, any new change that would typically require a new certificate of occupancy, that would come into play. The SUP doesn't necessarily mean that classic collision has to come in and get a new SUP.
Thank you.
Yeah, the SCP is for the property itself.
So the SUP would be tied to 1205 Borgfeld Road. It's not tied to the tenant, it is tied to the property. And I'll also say that the SUP is just for the land use. So it doesn't grant, anything else out there that's maybe not in compliance. It would just bring the land use itself into it would no longer be a non-conforming land use if it was approved.
Doesn't seem like 23 years, but I remember when that place was built in 2001. Time flies, I guess. And just to remind the commission, the current occupant of the property is the same company that runs the collision on Main Street. If you guys want to make that tie together. Okay. So, tonight we are, staff is recommending approval, and there is a condition. So, if someone would like to make a motion on this one, and since we can state the condition. It's in the case as it stands. So we can approve as presented, or I think it would be better if we state the condition. Yeah.
I make a motion to approve PLSPU 20240014 as written with conditions.
I second.
Was that you? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve item 5A. Any further questions or comments, discussion? I hear none. Please cast your vote. Okay, do you have a little light? You should have a little light. Yeah. Publish the vote. We have 7 ayes and no noes. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Thank you, staff. Moving on to number 6, request and announcements. 6A, request by commissioners to place items on a future planning and zoning agenda. I hear none. 6B, announcements by commissioners. Anyone? No. No, moving right along. 6C, announcements by staff. None? Item 7, information available in the Planning and Zoning Commission package. No discussion is to occur. 7A is current projects. And do we have any? All right. Item 8, there's no further action on no further items on the agenda. At 6:20, we'll adjourn.
What happened with the